Welcome, beautiful soul. The fact that you are here in this exact moment, listening to these words, is not a coincidence. Something greater has guided you to this message because you've been asking for a sign, for clarity, for understanding of why life feels so intense lately. The waves of emotion you've been navigating, the sudden highs followed by unexpected lows, the sense that time itself is speeding up. These are not random. They are signals of a larger shift unfolding, within and around you. And if your heart has been whispering that there is more happening than meets the eye, you are right. You were meant to hear this. This month's full moon is not just a celestial event in the sky. It is a spiritual initiation, a cosmic checkpoint placed directly in your path. The ancients called moments like these portals of awakening. During such times, the veil between the seen and unseen grows thin, and what has been hidden in shadow comes into the light. For some, that means sudden breakthroughs and revelations. For others, it means uncomfortable truths rising to the surface. But for every soul who feels called to this message, it is a sacred opportunity to remember who you are and what you are here to embody. This is the moon of illumination, but it is also the moon of exposure. Just as it casts light across the night sky, it shines into the corners of our spiritual path, revealing not only our progress but also the subtle traps that quietly hold us back. And that is what we are here to explore together. Because while most seekers are prepared for obvious challenges, the storms of life, the moments of doubt, the critics and skeptics, very few are prepared for the 7 subtle spiritual traps that appear only after you've already said yes to your awakening. You may already feel it. Despite your practices, your prayers, your meditations, there is still a heaviness, a lingering frustration, an invisible block you cannot name. You've done the right things, yet part of you still feels stuck, overwhelmed, or even secretly disappointed. That is not failure. That is evidence that you are advancing, because these 7 traps are not for beginners. They are for those who are truly walking the path, for those whose light is growing brighter, for those whose soul is preparing for a greater mission. And if you are still here, still listening, that means you are one of them. Over the next hour, we will walk together, with compassion and honesty, through each of these 7 traps. We will name them. We will understand how they sneak into our lives, and most importantly, we will learn the tools to move beyond them. You will receive journal prompts, reflection practices, and healing insights that you can use not only in this lunar cycle, but at any moment your soul calls for deeper grounding. These are timeless truths, meant for both the seeker just beginning to awaken and the mystic who has walked for decades. So I invite you now. Slow down. Breathe deeply. Allow yourself to not just listen, but to feel. This is not content to rush through, but a doorway to enter. By the end, you will not only recognize the subtle traps that have been weaving through your path, you will also hold the keys to dissolve them. This is your moment, your initiation, your alignment with the higher flow. And if you're still here, know this: you were chosen to receive this message. Beautiful soul, let us step into the first of the 7 traps. I call this one the absorber's dilemma. Empathy overload. If you've ever felt drained for no reason, if you've walked into a room with a smile but left carrying heaviness, you couldn't explain if your heart breaks with the news of the world to the point you feel it in your body. This is your initiation into understanding this subtle but powerful trap. So many lightworkers, healers, and seekers fall here because their gift of deep sensitivity, which is meant to guide them, becomes the very thing that weighs them down. You begin to carry the emotional weight of others as if it were your own, and soon you no longer know where your feelings end and the world's begin. This is not weakness. This is not failure. It is the empath's path, and you were meant to hear this now. Empathy is one of the most beautiful gifts the universe can weave into a soul. It allows you to feel the hidden currents beneath words, to notice the pain behind a smile, to connect on levels others cannot reach. But like all light, it casts a shadow. When a heart is wide open but the boundaries are thin, empathy transforms into absorption. Instead of compassion guiding you into wise action, you find yourself becoming a sponge, soaking up pain, fear, and chaos that were never yours to carry. And in this month's Pisces full moon, this trap is amplified tenfold. Pisces, the sign of oceans, dissolves barriers and heightens sensitivity. Under this energy, the collective emotional volume increases, and if your boundaries are not clear, you'll find yourself drowning in currents that don't belong to you. How do you know if you've slipped into this trap? There are signs that whisper at first and then shout if left unrecognized. You may feel constant fatigue despite sleeping long hours. You may wake up tired even after dreaming of other people's struggles. You may notice anxiety after being in a crowd, or even after scrolling through social media for a few minutes. Your mood may swing wildly, disconnected from anything happening in your personal reality. One moment joy, the next despair, with no cause you can name. You might feel as though your emotional identity has blurred, as if you can no longer tell where you end and others begin. These are not random fluctuations. They are signals. They are the universe's way of saying you are absorbing, not feeling. You are carrying what is not yours. At the root of this trap is the open heart chakra, combined with porous energetic. Boundaries. Many empaths believe that to help others, they must feel every ounce of their suffering. They mistake absorption for compassion, as if to be a true light worker they must carry the darkness of the world on their shoulders. But here lies the misunderstanding. True empathy is not drowning with someone in their sorrow. True empathy is holding the vibration of love so steady that others are reminded of their own capacity to rise. When you absorb, you deplete both yourself and the one you're trying to help. When you filter and radiate, you become the mirror of healing without losing yourself. So, what is the path out of this trap? First, awareness, and you already have that now. Next, practice. One powerful tool is the shield of light visualization. Each morning, close your eyes and imagine a radiant sphere of light surrounding you. See it shimmering like golden sunlight, or silver moonlight if that resonates more deeply. Feel this shield as living, breathing energy, filtering everything that enters. Only love, only truth, only what serves your highest good is allowed through. All else is softened, transformed, or returned to source. This is not about building walls. It is about creating sacred filters. Alongside this, practice the breathing exercise of energy return. When you feel heavy, close your eyes and breathe deeply. With every inhale, call your energy back to yourself. Whisper silently, "I call my power home." With every exhale, release what is not yours, letting it dissolve back into the earth or rise back to source light. After 3 to 5 breaths, notice the shift. Often, you will feel lighter almost instantly, because you've stopped carrying what was never meant to be yours. There is also a profound practice I call filter with love. Instead of shutting down your sensitivity, imagine that your heart has a natural filter, like sunlight passing through a prism. You feel others, yes, but their energy passes through your inner prism and emerges as compassion, not heaviness. This way, you honor your gift without being consumed by it. And finally, beautiful soul, commit to energy hygiene the way you commit to physical hygiene. Just as you would not go days without bathing, do not go days without clearing your field. Salt baths, smudging with sage or palo santo, chanting sacred sounds, even a simple shower with the intention of washing away all that is not yours. These are not luxuries. They are necessities for empaths. If you recognize yourself in these words, know that you are not broken. You are simply awakening to the difference between compassion and absorption. The full moon has brought this trap into your awareness not to punish you, but to free you. And if you're still listening, it's because you are ready to reclaim your energy, your clarity, and your sovereignty. Remember, you cannot pour from an empty vessel, and you were never asked to carry the whole world. You were asked to shine, and in shining, you help others remember their own light. Beautiful soul. The second trap is one that arrives not with thunder, but with whispers. I call it nostalgia quicksand. At first, it feels warm, even comforting, like sinking back into a memory that wraps around you like a soft blanket. You revisit moments when life felt magical, when love was blooming, when possibilities seemed endless. It feels safe to linger there, to replay the highlights in your mind. But slowly, without realizing it, you begin to sink. What was once a gentle comfort becomes a quiet danger, because the more you live in those memories, the less you live here now. Nostalgia quicksand doesn't drag you under with violence. It lulls you with sweetness until you no longer notice that the present moment has slipped from your hands. And if you found yourself saying, "Things used to be better," this message is meant for you. This trap manifests in subtle ways. You may catch yourself replaying old relationships, remembering the passion, the laughter, the sense of being seen. No current connection seems to match it, so everything in the present feels dimmer by comparison. Or perhaps you replay a certain time in your life, a season when you felt free, inspired, or deeply alive, and you measure everything today against that golden memory. The danger here is that the past begins to serve as your compass instead of your classroom. You cling to what was instead of learning from it. You hold on tightly to experiences that were meant to guide you forward, not keep you anchored in place. And because the future feels uncertain, the temptation to retreat into the past grows stronger. It feels easier to stay in what is known than to risk the unknown that lies ahead. But the deeper problem with nostalgia quicksand is this. The past becomes a home instead of a teacher. Instead of using it as a source of wisdom, you begin to romanticize it, polishing it in your mind until it gleams brighter than it ever did in reality. You resist the truth that change is the very heartbeat of the universe, and you resist your own growth. You start comparing the now with a memory that has been edited by time, and comparison is a poison that strips the present of its beauty. Your identity becomes trapped in previous versions of yourself, the one who was younger, freer, more hopeful, and you begin to forget that who you are becoming holds even more power. This trap whispers, "Go back." But your soul knows the only direction is forward, so how do we heal from this? The first step is to connect with your younger self through meditation. Close your eyes and imagine the version of you that you keep revisiting, whether it's you at 20, 30, or at the beginning of that magical chapter. See them clearly, feel their presence, then speak to them. Thank you. I love you. I release you. Thank them for carrying you through, love them for what they gave you, and release them so you can move into wholeness. Healing is not about returning to who you were before the pain, before the lessons. Healing is about becoming whole through the pain, integrating it and allowing it to evolve you. When you release the grip of nostalgia, you create space. Space for evolution. Space for the future you've been afraid to imagine. This is where your true power lies, not in recreating the past, but in integrating its lessons and moving beyond. The universe never asks you to rewind. It asks you to unfold, to expand, to discover what new magic is waiting to be born. There are action steps you can take right now. Begin with the journal prompt. What am I holding on to? Let yourself write freely, without judgment. Identify the memories, the relationships, the identities you have clung to. Then ask yourself gently, what am I afraid will happen if I let go? This is where the truth emerges. Often it is not the memory itself you are attached to, but the fear that nothing as good will ever come again. Once you see this fear, you can begin to dissolve it. Remember, integration is different from recreation. Integration means you take the essence of what you loved, the joy, the freedom, the passion, and you allow it to live in you now. Recreation means trying to rebuild what is gone, which always leads to disappointment. By integrating, you honor the past while staying open to the future, and most importantly, shift your gaze forward. The past has shaped you, but it does not define you. Your future is not meant to be a shadow of what once was. It is meant to be brighter, deeper, and more aligned with who you are now. If you're still listening, it's because your soul is ready to release the quicksand of nostalgia and step fully into the radiant path that awaits you. You were not meant to return. You were meant to evolve. The third trap is one of the most seductive, because it disguises itself as progress. I call it productivity poison. On the surface, it looks like dedication, devotion, even spiritual maturity. You rise early, you meditate, you journal, you manifest, you serve, you heal. Your days are filled with practices, rituals, and endless to-do lists, all in the name of growth. Yet deep inside, you begin to feel the same exhaustion, the same pressure, the same guilt that plagues the very world you thought you had outgrown. This is the enlightened hustle, where your spiritual worth is secretly measured by how much you do, how many people you help, how many shifts you create. And in this trap, rest feels like betrayal. Stillness feels like laziness, and you punish yourself for the very thing your soul is asking for. This is not your fault. It is cultural conditioning dressed in spiritual clothing. From the time we are children, we are taught that our value lies in what we produce. Doing is praised. Being is dismissed. And when we step into spiritual communities, we often unknowingly carry that programming with us. Suddenly, there are new standards: raising your frequency, manifesting faster, serving more people, staying endlessly high vibe. Rest is replaced with rituals, stillness replaced with performance. Burnout doesn't go away. It simply gets rebranded with better words. And instead of freedom, you find yourself chained to a new, shinier form of pressure. But here is the truth, and this full moon in Pisces makes it undeniable. Rest is not the opposite of productivity. Rest is sacred. Rest is integration. The soul chose to incarnate into a human body, and that body is not designed for constant output. Your nervous system cannot thrive under endless demands, even spiritual ones. Every cycle of expansion requires a cycle of stillness. Just as the ocean waves rise and fall, just as the moon waxes and wanes, you too are meant to have rhythms. To deny yourself rest is to deny yourself alignment. So let us practice presence together, even for a moment. Close your eyes if you wish. Take a deep breath in through your nose and slowly let it go. Again, inhale and exhale. Feel your body soften. Notice your shoulders lowering, your jaw unclenching. For 2 minutes, give yourself permission to simply be. Nothing to achieve, nothing to produce. Just awareness of your breath, the rise and fall, the rhythm of life itself moving through you. This is not wasted time. This is integration. This is the moment your energy realigns, your spirit replenishes, your frequency stabilizes. This is productivity in its truest form, allowing yourself to receive instead of endlessly doing. Now, I invite you to reframe the story. Ask yourself, what does my soul truly need right now? Not my mind, not my ego, not the expectations of others, but my soul. What am I doing simply because I believe I must? And what would it feel like to let go of that? Remember, your worth is not tied to how much you produce, how many people you serve, or how perfect your practices look. Your worth is inherent, eternal, unshakable. Harmony is not found in constant motion. Harmony is found in honoring your natural rhythm. Times of movement and times of stillness, times of expression and times of quiet. The universe itself is built on cycles. Why would your life be any different? So take this as your permission slip for rest. Take naps. Stare at the sky. Sit in silence without guilt. Let yourself breathe without performing. The trap of productivity poison loses its hold the moment you remember that simply existing is holy, that stillness is service, and that your light shines brightest when it is nourished, not forced. And if you are still listening, it is because your soul has been longing for this reminder. You are enough even when you are still, especially when you are still. The fourth trap is one of the most subtle and dangerous because it cloaks itself in light. I call it the misguided messenger. This is the authority trap, where instead of trusting the wisdom rising within, we hand our power to an external source. It could be a beloved teacher, a charismatic guru, a psychic reading, or even a channeled being claiming to carry messages from higher realms. Guidance in itself is beautiful. The universe often speaks through others. But the trap lies in blind trust. Not every message that wears the clothing of light is born from truth. And when we forget this, we surrender our sovereignty and lose touch with our own compass. Why do we fall into this trap? The answer is deeply human. When life is heavy, when we ache for clarity, when we cannot see the way forward, we long for answers. We crave a roadmap, a hand to hold, a voice to tell us it will all be okay. In our pain, it feels comforting to believe someone more awakened knows the path better than we do. It is understandable, even tender, but it is also dangerous, because when we place another on a pedestal, we risk shrinking ourselves in their shadow. The warning signs of this trap are often subtle. You may watch or read something that feels profound, yet later you are left in confusion rather than clarity. You may find yourself twisting your life to match a prediction that doesn't truly resonate. You may notice communities where spiritual hierarchy is emphasized, where questioning is labeled as low vibration or resistance, where obedience is praised more than discernment. And all the while, your body whispers that something is off. A knot in your stomach, a tightening in your chest, a subtle drain of energy. These are not random. These are signals from your inner teacher that you've wandered into someone else's story instead of your own. So how do we discern true guidance from false? Real guidance never demands obedience. It never shames you, never forces you into a narrow path, never clouds your mind with confusion. Real guidance feels expansive, like a deep breath of fresh air. It honors your free will and invites you into alignment rather than coercion. True teachers and true messages empower your self-trust. They remind you that you already carry wisdom within, that the answers rise from your own soul. False guidance, on the other hand, thrives on dependency. It asks you to return again and again, unable to move without its direction. The difference is simple but profound: discernment over devotion. And here lies the heart of liberation, reclaiming your sovereignty. You can honor and receive guidance from others, but never above your own knowing. You can listen, but always filter it through your heart. To embody this, I invite you into a simple sovereignty ritual. Place your hand over your heart. Breathe deeply and call in your highest guidance, the purest light of your own soul. Speak aloud. I trust the wisdom within me. I welcome guidance that honors my free will, and I reject any energy that seeks to diminish my power. I set boundaries with love, and I choose to walk in alignment with my inner teacher. Feel the resonance of these words as you say them, like a shield of clarity settling into your energy field. When you honor this practice, you stop mistaking others for your source of truth. You recognize teachers as mirrors, not masters. You welcome messages, but you hold them to the fire of discernment. And slowly, you begin to hear the voice that was always meant to guide you, the voice of your own soul. If you're still listening, it's because you are ready to remember this truth. You do not need to outsource your wisdom. You are, and always have been, your own most trusted messenger. The fifth trap is one that often hides behind the brightest smile and the sweetest words. I call it spiritual bypassing, and it is the fake light problem. On the surface, it looks harmless, even inspiring. Phrases like, "everything happens," "for a reason," or "just focus on love and positivity," seem uplifting, but when they are used to silence pain, to avoid grief, to deny anger or shame, they become weapons against your own soul. This is not true light. This is avoidance wrapped in spiritual language. The messy, painful, deeply human work of healing is avoided, and in its place a thin layer of platitudes is applied. But the heart knows. The body knows. The shadow cannot be silenced forever. Bypassing works in subtle but predictable ways. An emotion rises. Anger, grief, shame, fear, and instead of allowing it to be felt, it is immediately suppressed. Just be light, you tell yourself. Don't lower your vibration. A part of you, raw and wounded, cries out for attention, but your spiritual self hushes it, shoves it aside, and insists on radiance. What this creates is a split within you. The polished mask on the outside and the silenced voice within. It feels easier in the moment, but the deeper truth is that you are avoiding the real work. And so long as avoidance continues, the healing never begins. The cost of bypassing is greater than most realize. Suppressed emotions do not disappear. They fester in the dark, waiting for expression, and eventually erupt in ways you cannot control. They manifest as sudden outbursts, chronic fatigue, cycles of depression, or a quiet dimming of your light that no amount of affirmations can fix. When you reject your shadow, you weaken your radiance. When you silence your pain, you silence parts of your soul. Healing requires a sanctuary for all emotions, not just joy and love, but grief, rage, sorrow, and shame. To be fully human is to allow the full spectrum of feeling, not just the half that looks beautiful. So, what is the path forward? It begins with a simple, radical act, placing your hand on the part of your body where the emotion lives. Maybe grief sits heavy in your chest. Maybe anger burns in your belly. Maybe shame curls in your throat. Wherever it is, place your hand there. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply into that space, and then speak. I see you. I feel you. I welcome you. These words may feel strange at first, but they are the medicine. Emotions are not enemies to be battled, but children to be acknowledged. When you breathe into them, when you welcome them, they begin to soften, to alchemize. This is emotional alchemy, not silencing the shadow, but transforming it by bringing it into the light of your awareness. True light does not mean the absence of shadow. True light grows by shining into the shadow, by embracing what has been rejected, by loving what feels unlovable. When you allow anger to be felt, grief to be honored, shame to be seen, they begin to release their hold. They transform into wisdom, compassion, and resilience. Your light becomes steady, grounded, real. Not the brittle glow of forced positivity, but the radiant flame of authenticity. Integration comes when you commit to this practice daily. Begin by identifying your emotions instead of escaping them. Name them: anger, sadness, loneliness, fear. Then honor them. Say, "This too belongs. This too is a part of my human experience." Accept that being spiritual does not mean bypassing pain. It means allowing the full human spectrum to move through you without judgment. Every feeling is a teacher, and every teacher has something sacred to give. So give yourself permission, beautiful soul, to feel fully. Cry without rushing to stop. Rage without apologizing. Grieve without shame. On the other side of every fully felt emotion lies freedom. If you are still listening, it is because your soul is ready to stop bypassing and start embracing. Remember this truth: the light within you shines brightest not by avoiding the dark, but by illuminating it. And that is the work that transforms. The sixth trap is one that many seekers stumble into without realizing until it's too late. I call it deceptive guides, and it is the art of false light. These are the voices, teachers, or movements that present themselves as carrying the only truth, the ultimate authority, the one path to salvation or enlightenment. On the surface, their words may sound inspiring, but underneath they are laced with fear. They create pressure, demand loyalty, and leave you feeling more confused than clear. They thrive on an us versus them energy, dividing those who follow from those who question. And if you've ever walked away from a message that seemed radiant yet left your heart tight with unease, you've brushed against this trap. The warning signs are there if you look closely. Beware of fear-based spiritual teachings that speak more of punishment than possibility, of danger more than love. Beware of elitism that creates a hierarchy of worthiness, where only a chosen few are seen as truly awakened. Notice if your sense of value depends on a teacher's approval, if you feel smaller instead of stronger after hearing their words. Notice if you begin doubting your own intuition, second-guessing your inner wisdom in favor of someone else's voice. These are not the fruits of truth. These are the fingerprints of deception. So how do you recognize what is real? I offer you the threefold discernment test, a sacred tool you can carry with you always. Ask yourself, does this feel loving? True guidance never shames, never threatens, never manipulates through fear. It radiates unconditional love even when delivering hard truths. Next, ask, does this empower me? Authentic teaching will expand your confidence, remind you of your strength, and return you to your center. False teaching will make you dependent, small, or endlessly uncertain. And finally, ask, does this honor my free will? Real light respects your choices and your pace. It never forces rules, never binds you in contracts of fear, never demands obedience. If the answer to these three questions is not love, empowerment, and freedom, then what you are hearing is not light, but its disguise. Now reflect with honesty. Where in your journey have you followed others' truth more than your own? Where have you handed over your power to a voice outside of you, believing they knew better than your soul? These are not failures. They are lessons. They are the moments that teach you how precious your sovereignty truly is. The genuine spiritual path is not about devotion to another's authority. It is about reclaiming the authority of your own inner light. When you quiet the noise and listen within, you will feel the difference. Your inner light does not confuse you. It does not pressure you. It speaks with gentleness, clarity, and love. It may challenge you, yes, but it never diminishes you. The task now is to strengthen your trust in that voice. When false guides appear, test them against the truth already alive in your heart. If they fail, let them go with compassion and return to yourself. And if you are still listening, it means your soul is ready to step beyond the trap of deceptive guides. You are remembering that you were never meant to follow blindly. You were meant to walk boldly with your own light. That is the path of freedom, and it is already yours. The final trap is perhaps the most subtle and the most dangerous because it wears the mask of success. It is the illusion of having arrived. You may recognize it in the quiet thought, "I've done it, I've awakened, I know who I am now, the work is complete." At first, this seems like the highest compliment you could give yourself. After all, isn't the entire path of spiritual practice about arriving somewhere, some perfect state of enlightenment, peace, or transcendence? But this is where the ego plays its most clever trick. The destination delusion whispers that the journey is over. It encourages you to coast, to stop questioning, to stop growing. It may even wrap itself in spiritual superiority. I've reached a level others haven't. I am beyond their struggles. And yet, underneath this false victory, something unsettling happens. Stagnation sets in. You may feel stuck, bored, or oddly disappointed. If you've arrived, why doesn't it feel as good as you thought it would? Why is there still longing, still struggle, still shadow? This is the ego's masterpiece deception, convincing you that stillness means completion, when, in truth, it means arrested growth. The spiritual path is not a straight line with a finish line at the end. It is a spiral, endlessly circling, carrying you deeper and higher all at once. Each time you believe you've reached the top, you discover a new layer beneath, another mountain beyond the horizon. The awakening you experienced 5 years ago is not the same as the awakening you need today, and it will not be the same as the awakening awaiting you tomorrow. There is no final arrival, because you are not here to reach perfection. You are here to embody continuous becoming. You are a soul in motion, forever unfolding, forever dancing with new lessons and revelations. The sooner you release the fantasy of the end point, the freer you become. Every peak leads to another climb, every insight to a deeper mystery, every healing to another level of wholeness. The path never ends, because life never stops offering opportunities to expand. So how do you step out of the destination delusion? By falling in love with the process itself. Instead of treating your journey as a checklist with boxes to tick, meditation mastered, shadow integrated, ego dissolved, approach it as a dance. The beauty of the dance is not in the final step, but in every movement along the way. This is where devotion comes in. Devotion to practice, devotion to presence, devotion to growth. Not devotion to finishing, but to being alive inside the unfolding. The spiritual greats often speak of beginner's mind, a state of openness, humility, and curiosity that refuses to claim mastery. No matter how much wisdom you've gathered, there is always more to learn. No matter how deeply you've healed, there is always more to uncover. Think of yourself as both masterpiece and work in progress. You are already whole, already divine, already perfect in your essence. And yet, you are also evolving, shedding, learning, and deepening every single day. Holding both truths at once keeps you free from the delusion of arrival. You can celebrate how far you've come without pretending the journey is over. If you suspect the destination delusion may be weaving into your path, pause and ask yourself, what part of me wants the journey to be over? Is it the weary part that longs for rest? The ego that craves superiority? The child that wants safety and certainty? Let these voices speak, but do not mistake them for truth. What am I still learning to love? This is a sacred question. Every unfinished lesson, every raw emotion, every challenge that still feels like resistance is not proof of failure. It is proof that your journey is alive. How can self-love be my path of transformation? When you soften into love for yourself exactly as you are, you no longer need to arrive anywhere. You realize you are already walking with the divine, even in your unfinished state. What part of me am I avoiding because I think I should be past it by now? Often, the trap of destination delusion shows up as impatience with ourselves. We say, "I should be done with this by now." But the truth is, if it's still here, it still has medicine for you. These reflections pull you back into humility, curiosity, and presence. They remind you that the journey itself is the temple, not the finish line. When you release your attachment to arriving, something miraculous happens. Instead of disappointment, you discover wonder. Instead of boredom, you find renewal. Every day becomes alive with possibility, because there is no final destination to measure against. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not done. You are simply here, and that is enough. The magic of this perspective is that it transforms the climb itself into joy. Instead of rushing toward the top of the mountain, you begin to notice the flowers on the path, the feel of the earth beneath your feet, the way the sun warms your skin. You lean into the climb instead of trying to escape it, and you realize that the climb was always the point. In truth, the journey is the destination. Every moment you spend awakening, falling, rising, stumbling, dancing, and breathing is the reward. You were never meant to reach a final, frozen state of enlightenment. You were meant to live as a river, flowing, moving, changing, and endlessly becoming. So, if you find yourself tempted by the thought, "I've arrived," remember, that is not the end of your story. It is simply another doorway, another spiral, another invitation to grow. And the fact that you are still curious, still listening, still walking, means the magic is still alive within you. That is the truth of the final trap. The destination. Delusion may promise completion, but the real treasure is in knowing you are forever unfolding. The adventure is not over. It is only just beginning, again and again, for as long as your soul breathes. We have walked through 7 subtle traps together, each one a mirror, each one a lesson. Empathy overload, nostalgia quicksand, productivity poison, the misguided messenger, spiritual bypassing, deceptive guides, and, finally, the destination delusion. Each of these traps carries the same invitation: to remember who you are, to step back into sovereignty, and to live your path with clarity and courage. It is not failure to encounter these traps. It is human. It is spiritual. To walk through them is to walk the real path of awakening, because awareness itself is liberation's first breath. The moment you see the pattern, the spell begins to dissolve. The fog lifts, the weight lessens, and you remember, I am not trapped. I am aware, and awareness is freedom. Take a moment here to honor yourself. You have given yourself the gift of recognition. You have slowed down enough to notice where you may have been caught, and that noticing is already a victory. Awareness is not small. Awareness is the hinge upon which transformation swings. If you see even one of these traps alive within you, know that you are already growing beyond it simply by naming it. Let us seal this journey together with a simple ritual of sovereignty. Place your hands gently upon your heart. Close your eyes if you are able. Feel the rise and fall of your breath beneath your palms. This is your center. This is your home. Whisper inwardly or out loud if you feel called. I honor myself for walking this path. I honor the shadows I have seen. I honor the traps I have escaped. I honor the light that guides me. I embrace my whole self, light and shadow, wound and healing, past and future. All is sacred. I am the lighthouse. I am the healing. I am the awakening. I am the becoming. Breathe these words into your body. Imagine them glowing in your chest, radiating outward into every cell, every thought, every possibility. See yourself as a beacon on the shore, steady and unshaken, light pouring out across the waters. Your light does not only illuminate your own way, it guides others. By healing yourself, you become a source of healing for the world. Stay here for just a moment longer. Feel the steadiness of your heartbeat, the truth of your presence. You are sovereign. You are whole. You are home. As you carry this energy forward, consider these gentle reflections. Where can I practice gratitude today? Gratitude is an anchor. It roots you in the present moment, reminding you of the blessings already alive within and around you. Which parts of me most need honoring? Healing does not mean erasing pain. It means holding every part of yourself in compassion. The child, the shadow, the tired one, the hopeful one. All deserve love. How can I trust my path more deeply? Trust is not blind. It is rooted in the lived truth that life has carried you this far, and it will carry you onward. Trust does not mean you will never stumble again. It means you know you will always rise. How can I see my life as a sacred dance of becoming? There is no end point. There is only this unfolding, this spiral, this moment. When you honor the dance, you no longer need to rush. You no longer need to arrive. You are already living the miracle. Sit with these reflections. Write them down if you feel called. Let them guide you like gentle lanterns on the path ahead. As we close, I want to remind you that you are not alone. Though your journey is uniquely yours, we walk together in the great tapestry of awakening. Each of us is a lighthouse, each of us a flame. Together we illuminate the night. If this message has spoken to your heart, I invite you to claim your place in this circle of light. In the comments below, write the words, "I am the lighthouse." Let it be your declaration, your blessing, your way of saying yes to your path and yes to community. When others see those words, they will feel less alone. And when you see theirs, you will know you are walking among kindred souls. If you feel called, share this message with someone who may need its reminder. Subscribe, follow, or stay connected so that we may continue walking together through the mysteries, the traps, and the treasures of the path. And now, may you carry this blessing into your day, into your life, into your becoming. You are whole. You are luminous. You are free. Your shadows are not failures, they are gateways. Your wounds are not weaknesses, they are teachers. Your path is not broken. It is sacred in every twist and turn. May you remember your sovereignty. May you live as the lighthouse. May you trust the spiral of becoming. And may you walk with the quiet knowing that you are exactly where you are meant to be. Here, now, shining. So it is.